If you're new here, I'm Shayla here at Mountain Mama's Home. I am a homemaking, homesteading, and homeschooling mama to many. I help other moms that are balancing combinations of these three things: thrive instead of simply survive. In this video, I'm going to do a little homemaking. I'm going to show you how to style inspirational open shelving. I have got some pro tips. We're going to talk about trends versus timeless styles, and I'm excited to show you a beautiful shelf addition to my kitchen that is actually a small but special dream come true. And for the devotional, I'm going to share how a simple shelf reminded me of Psalms 37:4. First, I've been gone a month. Maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't, but I took the month of July off from posting here. July was packed to the brim for us. Speaking of thriving instead of surviving, I kind of felt like I was just surviving a couple times last month, but as I look back over the month, I am astonished by all that we accomplished.
The month was truly brimming with events and projects, and I will tell you all about it in just a little bit. But right now, I want to show you some of the projects we have been working on. This is the paper we were making in the last video. My daughter made this with shredded paper and a window screen.
But I've also been taking on some homemaking projects that I don't normally do this time of year. One of the most exciting projects was I was given a beautiful shelf by LiVNiX, which brings me to today's sponsor. LiVNiX specializes in beautiful mid-century and modern furniture for all your whole home needs. I have been an admirer of mid-century designs my whole life. It's part of why I lean towards the whole boho home vibe. Besides loving LiVNiX furniture, something else I admire about the company is that they are sustainably sourced. They source wood from responsibly managed forests.
I chose the True cabinet, and I just absolutely love the arch design. These cabinets are made with E1 MDF board, so you have to be a little careful as you assemble it. Speaking of which, you do need to assemble some of the pieces, which was definitely not a problem for us. As a homeschool mom with many sons, we enjoy projects like this. I have one son in particular who especially enjoys them, and we had a lot of fun putting this cabinet together. The directions were very clear. I felt like you just have to be careful not to overturn the screws too much as you place them.
Right now, LiVNiX is offering a special for my viewers. Choose any two items from the collection linked to in the description box below, and you can add the modern shoe cabinet to your cart. Use the code LIVEFREE and it will be free at checkout.
While my son began assembling the new shelf, I decided that I wanted to put the new one in the kitchen. This is the cabinet that was there before. I'm going to be emptying it and taking it and putting it elsewhere. I am excited to show you where, but I'm very excited for the switch, and here's why. If you have ever tried to create a boho theme in your kitchen, you know that it's not an easy task. In fact, after I finished the last kitchen overhaul that I did, I was so discouraged because somebody made the comment, "It looks very country-ish." And I was discouraged because that is not the look I was going for. I have found creating a boho kitchen to be a challenge from the very beginning, which is why when I saw the arch design on this shelf, I instantly knew that that is what was missing. I knew it would help underscore a boho theme in the kitchen. The curved arches are something I've admired since childhood. I absolutely love them. They, for some reason, remind me of fairy tales and elegance. I truly think that they are timeless, and I have a sweet story about that. So I love the hutch that was there. I actually had this hutch made years ago. I decided it would be better put in the dining room though, and I did do a dining room makeover, which I will show you in the next video. I did something really special in there. But back to what I was saying about timeless designs. There are trends. Trends come and go, and they just are a wisp, like a vapor. And I think it's really unwise to chase trends. There's something about those mid-century designs though that just always stays beautiful, in my opinion. When these curved arch shelves started coming out, I noticed them. It was around 10 years ago, and I badly wanted one of these shelves with these tops, but we weren't in a place where I could get one. Well, the neat thing about that, and the good thing that comes out of having to wait, is it gives you time to decide whether or not you really actually love it, and whether or not it's something that is not going to grow old on you. Year after year, these arched tops have never grown old for me. I think that's really when you know you've found your style, you've found what you truly love. When year after year, It never grows old. That's a timeless design. And timeless designs, I feel like, can be different, varied upon person by person. I'm going to give you some professional decoration tips. Now, I'm not a professional. However, I have been studying home decor and design for over 20 years off and on. So these are some of the tips that I have picked up on decorating shelves through the years. Decorating shelves can be tricky, really, really tricky, which is why I've studied into it, because I felt like I was always getting it wrong until I found these tricks. One is, as you can see, add some lights. Lights are wonderful, especially if the sides of the shelf are covered like this, if it's a shelf that has sides. Adding lights to shelving like this completely transforms the shelving. A second tip, and one that I'm really bad at, is to leave open space. I am terrible at this. In fact, I rarely do. I usually have to fill this space up with something, even if it is something that is not that noticeable. And part of the reason I do this is because I lack shelving, which is why I wanted another shelf for our home like this. These are some spice jars that I will be keeping on the shelf, and I'm washing them. So that, of course, is another tip. If things on your shelves are getting dusty, which if you have open shelving, that is something you will consistently be contending with, is the dust. But by keeping things dusted on the shelves and clean, the open shelving, or the items on the open shelving, will be a lot more appealing. The third, or is this the fourth? Maybe it's fourth tip that I have, is you want things of varying heights. You want generally one thing on the shelf that is taller than the rest. And then you want items of varying heights, unless of course you have something like these spice jars that are all the exact same thing. Now, if these spice jars were the same height, but different types of jars, different looks or styles, that would not look very good. But since they are all the same, it's okay to have them the same height. But normally you want to do things of varying heights, like the bowls on the top shelf. You see they are in various different heights. Now, in order to create the illusion of some open space, I decided, let's put this platter down here. Another reason I wanted to put the platter, because I was afraid if my children are putting bowls in there, which that's what we're going to be putting in that open space, I was afraid that if they were sliding the bowls in and out, that it would scuff the shelving. So I put this down to help protect the shelf. Another tip that I didn't learn until a couple years ago is to store like things, or group like things together. So you see I have the cookbooks here, and then above that I have spices, and they're all the same jars. But on the top I have a little pottery collection. I did end up changing all of this out, which you'll probably see in the next video. I'll probably be changing this shelf up on a consistent basis just to keep it interesting. But again, just to recap that last tip, group like things together. So whenever you have collections of things, it looks more put together to group them together. If you want to add inspiration to your shelving, of course, you know me, my favorite way to do that is with Bible verses. I like to frame Bible verses and stash them throughout different shelves and places in my home. I felt like the back behind the spices was a little bland and needed something to help the spices pop. So I put a platter back there. I chose a white platter to help reflect light. This is one of my favorite things to do with platters on shelves. I get those plate holders, I'm not sure what they're called, but they work really well for maximizing storage space and displaying your beautiful platters. I told you I would tell you more about what happened in July and why I needed to take some time off.
There are a few reasons for this, but a couple of them were because I was finishing a back to homeschool course over on Patreon. You could check that out if you are homeschooling and needing some help planning out your upcoming homeschool year. But another reason is because we had our annual chicken butchering, which actually went on for about 4 weekends. We had a huge harvest this year. My brother, an aunt, and my mom and my stepdad even came to help with 3 of the weekends, and we had a great time. Speaking of my aunt, an aunt came to visit us. We had our berry harvest started last month. Our second goat kidded. We now have 11 goats. 3 of us in the family had birthdays. I bought my first rose bush ever, and the month was just full of birthdays, good food, family, and we are enjoying beautiful, delicious goat milk again right now.
I have a special devotional for you today based on Psalms 37:4. In my life, I've always felt, what's that old phrase, day late and a dollar short? I feel like that saying just is my life theme. I've always felt so late to arrive at certain dreams and desires that at times I've struggled and maybe even doubted Psalms 37:4 at times.
When this shelf arrived, I couldn't help but remember back to about 10 years ago. Around 10 years ago, we were living in an unfinished house. We had just gotten an addition, a long awaited for addition on our house. We had been a family of 7 living in less than 1,000 square feet of space, and it was very hard. And that's around the time I started seeing these shelves with the arched tops roll out, and I was instantly admiring them. But of course, I couldn't afford to get one. It's funny how little things like that we long for, wish we could get and think are beautiful, but no way of actually getting. Things like that sometimes come back around. It reminds me of the time I was 10 and my aunt had sent me a postcard from Hawaii. And I remember for days and days longing to go to Hawaii. That became my dream. It became like one of my childhood dreams. I want to go to Hawaii someday. But that was so far out of the realm of possibilities for our family. About 11 years later, my dad was living in Hawaii, my biological dad. So I was raised primarily by my mom and my stepdad. And my biological dad was living in Hawaii and invited me to come for a visit and invited to pay the way. And they were not rich people, but he found a way to get the money for a ticket, and I was 21. By that time, I had completely forgotten about my dream to go to Hawaii as a child. Completely forgotten. In fact, when my dad invited me to come to Hawaii, I said no. I was like, no, I don't, that was crazy. I don't want to go to Hawaii. It wasn't until I was on the plane in midair on the way to Hawaii that dream came back to me. Fast forward to this shelf. As it was arriving, I was remembering back to around 10 years ago, longing for one of these, looking at them, admiring them, but no way. Too often we think that God doesn't see those little desires. Too often we think he doesn't care. It's insignificant. I mean, there's people dying around the planet. Why would God care about little things like that? And how does this make any sense at all that he would? But the more I live, the more I see that he does. He cares about every tear that falls, every tear, whether it's over something serious or over something small, seemingly small. He sees the longings and the desires of our heart, and those matter to him. And I think the worst mistake that humanity can make is thinking there is no God. But if there is, he doesn't care. There's more going on. There's more than we see. There's more than we can even wrap our minds around. That shelf, for me, is a reminder that all the times I felt like I fell through the cracks, all the time I felt like our family fell through the cracks, he was there. He was watching, and he remembered all along, and he's there for you. It might not feel like it at times, but he is. He's there, and he sees. He's paying attention, he's taking notes, and he cares. The Bible verse, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Another one of the worst mistakes humanity can make is not realizing that the greatest delight of all is to be close and to walk with the Lord.